American Ag Spotlight. I'm Chrissy Wozniak. Joining me today is someone very special to me. He's been a great friend for many years. He's helped me through some tough times, and I'm pretty sure I've been an ear through some of his. He's raised on a dairy farm in Eastern Ontario, Canada. This inspirational man has added feed mixer sales rep, airplane pilot, stroke survivor, and world traveler to his resume. As we head into this new year, I keep thinking of the challenges that farmers are facing, the cost of inputs, the volatile markets, the multitude of issues that COVID is responsible for. So when thinking about guests to have this month, this dear friend came to mind as someone with a great message of hope and perseverance. Currently oceanside, somewhere in Mexico, I'd like to welcome Mike Muldoon. Welcome, Mike, and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate being with you.
So
yes, we did go back a long time and we're very good friends.
Yes. And I hate to take you from the beach for too long, so we'll just jump right in. So tell me about your family farm, first of all, and where your love of agriculture came from.
My family farm is in Arnprior. We're just outside of Ottawa, about a half an hour going west. We had a small little farm, about 100 acres, 50 tillable, and milked about 40 cows. And then with efficiency and modern technology, we filled the quota with about 35 cows. We played with genetics, and we enjoyed working in the breeding end of it, breeding a very good herd. And it was just sort of one of those things that you kind of come into. I didn't plan on going into milking cows, but I went to university at McDonald College, got my diploma in agriculture, worked a little bit in the agricultural field, and then there was a point that I had to come home just to help out for a wee bit and never left. And I was there till I was 50 when we sold the herd. So.
Wow. And from there you worked for Jaylor. That's how I met you. I remember at the Ancaster Sheep Conference.
Yes,
so why did you choose Jaylor?
It was sort of one of those things. I did a whole bunch of different jobs to get out there and find out what I could do, and did an interview with a headhunter, and he sent me off to Jaylor, and he said, give it a try. He said, you need the practice to do the interview. And then the next thing you know, he got the reply and said that I fit the format for what they wanted. And it went from that amount. I was with them for a total of 18 years. One time I quit, went back home when my mom was sick. And I worked for a dealer in our area with farm machinery. And then they called me back, and then another company took me under their wing for a period of time. And then I went back to Jaylor because I really like the passion of who they are and what they stood for and that, so sometimes you get a bit of burnout, and, sometimes you just got to step away from things to find out how much you appreciate them, so you can go back and really work hard, because if you don't do that, you won't go to your potential. So.
Yeah, that's right. And I know your passion for Jaylor and for feeding cows was just incredible. I remember one of our first conversations, we were sitting somewhere eating, and you were just saying about how about why the mixer was so much better than all the other ones. And meanwhile, I was selling buildings at the time, and I wasn't feeding cows, but you made it so interesting because you loved it so much that I still remember today how every single bite that the cow eats has to be exactly the same, right? You really were just so passionate about it.
But and to me, that when you have some type of a passion for a product, it's easy to get out there and sell, because you're not selling, you're just promoting what you have,
Mm-hmm.
And you build relationships and you work with people, and sometimes things go bad. You can have the best product in the world, and if you don't take care of it, maintain it, it's going to fall apart. And you can have another machine that's not as good, but if you take care of it and do a great job, it could actually be a great machine. So it's you have to sell the passion and the company values, and work with the farmers to just take care of their equipment,
Mm-hmm. And you have a big love for motorcycles too, but just not Harleys, right?
No, not Harleys, but I do love motorcycles. And as you know, I've been on them for a long time, and I think you told me at that meeting in Ancaster, you're the guy they talk about. So yes, it was Jaylor. They allowed me to drive all over my area with the bike, and that became my salvation, I guess, for the mind, to allow me to just grow and be better. And it was fun. So yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And you've
And I took you
traveled.
for a ride on it once too.
That's
So
right. Yep, that's right. It was fun. Uh, so I remember a very scary day, and it was right after Canadian Dairy Expo. I don't know how many years ago now. And you went home after the show, and then tell us what happened.
actually, it wasn't at the show. I was at meetings at that point.
Mhm.
I had been up in Northern Ontario doing a soils and crop conference, and things came. I was coming back, and there was a whole bunch of issues with weather and planes being shut down, and I ended up sleeping the night in Toronto uh, on the floor with no support. Got up next morning and then flew back home. And when I got back home later in the afternoon, by the time I got back, my daughter was up in New Jersey, and they were up for Easter, and so we hung out together all day. But I was beat and tired, so I went to bed early. In the evening, went downstairs to a spare room and just crashed. Got up in the morning at 6 o'clock, went to the bathroom, walked around, it was great, and went back to bed at after that, fell asleep. And then at 6:30, people were walking around upstairs. So I got up and I went, tried to get up and see them. My whole right hand was paralyzed. So I didn't know what I had, but I knew it wasn't good. And seeing I was down there and everybody thought I was tired and beat up, they wouldn't be down for a long time. So I had to try to maneuver myself to get up. And I tried to get up, and in the process rolled off the bed about, it was about 2 feet high, and landed on the floor, and then tried to get up again. And I got to a door, pulled myself up, and hopped across the basement room that was down there, hopped on the lower step, and then up 13 steps to the next floor, and then headed down the aisle. My wife, she came out of her bedroom and grabbed me and said, "Stop." But being male and pig-headed and stubborn, I kept going to a place I wanted to fall into a couch, and touched it and collapsed right on the floor. She eased me down. And then at that point, I was pretty well out of the picture. And they got the family all there, and called the paramedics, and they came, and Jeff and Richard showed up. They took control, did an amazing job. And Jeff, one of the paramedics, wanted to go out another route because the one going out the front of the house is a little bit rough, and they thought if they could find an easier exit, it'd be great. So he went out the back door into the garage, and my motorcycle was there. And he just stopped and looked at it for about 30 seconds and came back, and he says, "I'm going to get that old guy back on that bike." And he just took control and went to a different level. Let's say this way. He pushed the envelope quite a bit. So he ended up taking me to Ottawa instead of to the hospital I should have went to. And then they got talking to the doctors during the whole process. And the doctor said, "We'll wait and check him out." And Jeff really pushed hard and got me onto the operating table. So that was a great gift, So like he just took control. And so after the operation, after I was prepared, it was only 13 minutes. So they take a catheter and put it through your groin area and up through here. And the stroke clot was up here. They put a needle in it, removed it, took it out. And then about 4 hours later, I was sitting up and trying to talk to people. I couldn't, but everybody was around. So I did an amazing job. And after about 7 months of healing and getting my meds all lined up, and just a whole bunch of other things to get my life back together and getting back into the gym and working out hard in the gym and trying to rebuild my body, things came together very well. And then I was back with Jaylor. So I feel very fortunate. So in essence, the bike saved my life.
Right. Yeah. That inspirational moment where he wanted you back on that bike, right? Yeah, that's really
Yes.
cool. So how you're a very active person, right? Just normally lots of energy, very active, love your social life, love people, really. But how during that time when you were healing did you stay positive?
Well, first of all, I was living. I still have my life, and that was good.
Good point.
And the family was all there, and you and some other friends showed up to see how I was doing and to chat, and it was just, in essence, I guess, to a big point, I've got a positive attitude about life.
Mhm.
And, you know, you only have two choices. You can either wake up in the morning and things are going to be good, or you can say things are going to be terrible. So you have to make your decision. So to me, I think being positive, even in bad times, you know, like because of my stroke, I worked for, you know, a few more years and then I retired and I'm off doing this stuff. So a person with a negative attitude wouldn't be in the environment I'm in now. So, you know, how do you want to wake up in the morning? Oh, it's that attitude. Just get up and be positive. Yeah. So everybody gets kicked a bit and beat up and everything else. But, you know, it's like everything in life. The bad points are a small number and everything else is good, but you always get focusing on the negativity. So you just have to get past that.
Yeah, for sure. And so how long was it between the stroke and when you were back on your bike again?
Probably about 4 months. I had a person one day, I just
Amazing.
sort of got the nerve to go for a ride. And then I asked her to follow me in my car and we just drove around a couple of blocks. And the next thing I was back on the bike and pushing a little bit more and a little bit more. And for the first, till the next spring, I was basically in the car. So,
Mhm.
but when things got better in the spring, it was back onto the bike again. So,
Yeah. And you went all the way to Alaska, right? The year after? Was it a year after or was it 2 years after?
well, that like the stroke was in 2017, and I have a brother-in-law who is kind of a pain. He always pushes me and keeps pushing, you know, got to do this, got to do this, you know, and he's an awesome guy, you know, and we've been riding together since probably 2008. So he said, where are we going? So we ended up doing the Labrador Highway. So we drove all the way up to into Quebec, and then we went up to Labrador City and Happy Valley Goose Bay, and then to Newfoundland, drove around there, and then we rode back, you know. So that was kind of the first real push to get out there. And I was scared the whole time I was doing this. Like it was absolutely fearful, you know, because you can always think of that one stroke happening or the bike, even the bike slipping out because you're on a gravel road for like about 800 kilometers, you know. So there's always that internal fear of experience or lack of experience or nature throwing something at you, you know, like the wild animals and trucks and everything up there. So I did that. When you come back to that, you go to a different level of acceptance of how good you can do, you know. And then the next year, Doug bugs me again, and work was amazing. Jaylor was amazingly tolerant. Yeah, and Herman, my sales manager, and you know him. I must be a good salesman because I made a presentation of what I should do, and he accepted it. So I took 7 weeks off, and Doug and I met. I headed west. We met in Portage Prairie, and we went all the way up into the Yukon to Dawson City, and then from there we went all the way up to Tuktoyaktuk and slept on the Arctic Ocean, you know, on about the 16th of June, and the sun is up, you know, 24 hours a day, and it's fresh and it's just absolutely beautiful. But it's 950 kilometers of gravel road all the way in. And so the only thing is, the funny part is there's no pavement at the end. You have to come the same distance out, you know. So, and the people I met, some of them are longtime friends now. And it's the people the adventure people on this route are the ones who want to just live their life. So these are the people I hang on to, people that are positive, you know. The people that come into my life that are negative, you know, you'd be nice to them. You can send them a check on Facebook or something sometimes, but they're not that dynamic person that you want to hang out with. So that makes it a lot easier to keep your positive attitude when you have positive attitude with people in your life. So we came back, and then we did the top of the world highway over to Alaska, and then we came back and did the Cassiar and went down all the way to Vancouver Island where Doug lives. I hung out there, and then I went and to a motorcycle meeting that I hang out with, and it was in Nakusp, BC, and then I rode home. So I think it was, by the time we all came together, about 20,000 kilometers. So.
Wow, that's incredible. So what did you, when you felt the fear, what made you decide not to just go and find the closest couch and sit there? Why did you push past that fear?
Because the other attitude is that thing is, if you fall into that fear of negativity and the fear that of what ifs in life. Everybody has a what if. What if this happened? What if that happened? And you just stand up and you say, look, I'm going to do it, you know. So when you're driving on that bike all the way up to Tuktoyaktuk, and it's just steady going, and you know, luckily we had good weather. You know, we went in and it was slow going in, and once you get into a rhythm, you get more confident and you go at a different level. So how do you get past the fear? I don't know. It's just something that's sort of, if you give in to the fear, you're going to give in to everything. So,
yeah.
You know, and then it gets to the point, once you get past fearing fear, then you learn to live, you know, you accept life. Yeah, you could have an accident, fall and break a leg or collarbone or get banged up, and people get killed on the road and all of this stuff and everything, be it farm accidents or motorcycle accidents or highway accidents. There's going to be an accident somewhere in your life, with be it somebody else or you. So like I've got my body's all beat up because of farming accidents, you know. So you just, you know, it's sort of like farming. You get beat up, you get knocked down, you get up and you go milk the cows and you clean them out, and it just becomes almost a way of life. You just, you know, and I think it's a mindset, because a lot of people, if you give in the first time, it's easier to give in the next time and give in the next time. It just becomes a habit. So
yeah, that's it. So then you're back on the road, you're back into freedom again, and then the pandemic hits, and like, you know, my dad passed away in 2011. So you were going to walk me down the aisle for my wedding in May 2020. So you had to cancel that trip, along with, I'm sure, a lot of other trips. But so how did you deal with being grounded? Mike, you have to stay home. How did you do that?
I was never grounded. I kept going. Like even like I have a person that came into my life, and her name's Katia, and it's a person I met through the agriculture community or the motorcycle community. And she's from Rio de Janeiro, and you've met her. She was at your birthday party. And so there was nothing intended there. We just sort of got together, and we've been together for about 2 years now. She come up here and we go riding. And even during the pandemic, I drove my truck and my camper all the way out to Vancouver Island to see my sister and Doug and my brother out there. And we came back. She rode her motorcycle. We sort of had a home on the roads. And then you just keep going. Like I was never really grounded. Like, yeah, sometimes I would get into the moments where you're kind of beat up, a little bit depressed because you can't be who you once were. And everybody's in the same boat because, you know, but we just kept going. And even like this past year, she was up and we rode all the way to Alberta to see some family members. I was going out to see my brother-in-law, but because of COVID and the smoke and the fires, and we were told because of all the road shuts down, don't come into BC because you won't be able to survive.
Yeah.
So we went there and rode all the way back. And, you know, you just like, there's been no effect on my life. We followed proper protocols, you know, when we wore the mask and tried to be very conscious of our environment. And it was, yeah, you just keep on living, you know. I mean, yeah, like a lot of people, the fear of the COVID in many cases is no different than the fear of riding the Dempster Highway, you know. Like when you go on the Dempster Highway, you're not going to go up and do stupid stuff like a guy on a trick bike and stuff like that. So you follow a proper protocol to have things fall into the proper format. And it's no different with the COVID. Like, you know, you just do what you have to do, keep the mask on, get the shots, and, you know, whatever your belief is. And the thing is, a lot of people have different beliefs on this. So what's right or wrong, I don't know. So, but I'm doing what I believe is right. I'm not listening to somebody else. You know, there's people that think I'm absolutely crazy doing what I'm doing now, like, you know, and like, I really don't care what they say because it's my life. You have to live your life, you know?
Yeah.
And
and then that fast forward to today, you're sitting in Mexico. So many people are still afraid to leave home. But here you are in Mexico. So what is this trip all about?
Well, I retired a year ago, May. It'll be 2 years this May. And so, like I said, Kathy and I split up, and So the place that we were living in was sold, and I had to move out. And I just wanted to try something different, like I just didn't want to be stuck at home doing, like I know people that'll hang out every day in their same coffee shop, and they'll talk all the time like that. And to me, that's really good. There's an environment and a friendly community that they have that's very important to them. But I'm not that type of person, so I had to get out. And so when the house was sold, everything was packed up, and I put all my stuff that I saved in storage at a farmer's place. I'm very gifted for him. And so then I just hopped on the bike and drove all the way down here to Mexico. So I went through the States in 4 days to get down here. And I had to get extra in health insurance, but they gave me a clear booking to go ahead with no problems or nothing. So that was good, Of course, because of my issues, you pay a little bit more, but hey, you can't stop for that either, So I'm covered down here for 6 months. And so we've been traveling around Mexico, Caddy and I, and we've been into backcountry and areas that that nobody goes to. Even a lot of the regulars, they see me walking through the street, and I'm a little bit whiter than they are, and so I kind of stand out a bit, And but we've been on roads that just blow your mind, and there's all of these rumors, and some of them I was a bit worried about when I was coming down, how perceptions of the news are telling you this is bad and that's bad and everything else. So once you get past that kind of a little bit of a fear and you get comfortable, like it was just amazing where we went and some of the places we've seen and the churches and the communities and down here, everybody's smile, everybody's cordial, everybody's here to help you. Like we haven't run into any negativity at all. The people, like my Spanish really, really sucks. Caddy's Spanish is good. And so maybe that's taken a bit of my strength away to learn more Spanish, but it's just amazing to be out there discovering Mexico. And yeah, like I'm at a beach place right now. We've been coming down. I was really burnt out because of moving out of my home that I built and then taking care of all the family issues that needed to be taken care of. And then all of a sudden you're going, wow, so I got burnt out, and I told Katia, I said, we need to take some time off. So today it's 3 weeks on the beach in 3 different places so we can spread it out and enjoy it. And it's just amazing. And the whole way down here, I basically only lived with the Mexican community. Like I'm going to the markets in the towns, like when we were at the place north of here in Estapa, you go to a restaurant at the hotel by the beach, and you will spend up for a breakfast. And I can go into the markets where just the locals are hanging out, and these kitchens that are all over the place, and they're not what you would perceive as what we have at home, but you can buy the meal for 25% of what you would pay in the hotel, and that's where I eat all the time. Like we're not into these fancy places and all of this stuff. And we're trying to live as cheap as we can.
That's so cool. So what do you think, coming back to farmers in the future? So what advice do you give farmers who are facing fear? Like what are some steps they can take?
Well, there's a lot of issues, the gift with my job working with Jaylor, there was places I used to go and I got to meet some of the great people in the agriculture community. And when you sit and you chat over a glass of wine and, about the stories of what's going on and everything else. And in the agriculture community, it's one of the industries that has one of the higher rate of suicide. So there's a lot of pressure on the farm. And I know that for myself because like I got beat up. I got my leg banged up on the farm and my hand banged up. And, so when you get beat up like this, and in the old days, which is no different than a lot of the smaller farmers today, they're just working from paycheck to paycheck. So they have to really work hard. The bigger you get and the more fluid you are, that makes it a little bit easier, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the farmers, they just, yeah, if you don't have the passion for farming, you almost have to get out of it. Because I think passion keeps you in and keeps you focused and allows you to live on a very small amount of money. And, you know, and you take that, you roll it back in so you can get bigger and better and this stuff, you know. And back in my days, that way of doing it wasn't as dominant as it is today, because it is a major industry nowadays. Back in my days, it was just a passion type of thing, you know. And that's the part that I love about it. My kids all grew up with that same passion, but they didn't want to farm. So farmers, it's tough, because I've known farmers who died with suicide, and you know, you just have to get past that, you know, where it's a tough business, you know, and you can get beat up, especially when you're living there 24/7, 365. And when you get to the point that you're really beat up really bad, go find a good person to sit down and talk to, you know, be it a psychologist or somebody like that you build a relationship and a trust with, and just spill your guts out to them and tell them everything about you that nobody else knows. And in many cases, this worked, because I went through that after my relationship broke up. So, you know, it's pretty tough, you know, but you just got to get up every morning and do it. You know, you got to get up every morning and milk the cows and all of this stuff, you know.
Yeah, and make the hard decisions when you need to, right? For what's good for you. Like you came to a point where you had to make a decision that you would be happier in a different role, right?
Well, at the end, like when we were working on the little farm, and you know, our small farm, we had to make a decision. What do we do? You know, and there was not a lot of interest with the kids, and our farm was too small, and we were kind of stifled, and the body was falling apart. The knees are done, and so you have to make a decision. And when you start looking around your own neighborhood, you see all the other ones that had to make the decision. You know, so. Yes, it's a tough decision, you know, when you've bred all of these cows all your life and they've done well, and you know, get out there and, you know, you had a clientele that was sort of coming to look at them and buy them in the old days. You know, it wasn't all genetics, it was more confirmation. So that's all changed now. But yeah, it was just, yeah, it's tough to make those decisions to move on. And it hurts. It hurts big time. It took a long time to get over that hurt of not being a farmer anymore, you know. And after you're not a part of the community for a while, you're sort of put off to the side, and you're not a part of it anymore. At the same way that when you're in it, you know, because you're going to the shows and talking and this stuff. So you have to move on and accept that you find another passion, you know. And luckily enough, Jaylor allowed me to, in essence, be a better farmer, because I could promote the benefits of good agriculture and technology and all of this. So,
yeah, that's awesome. So one more question for you. What gets you out of bed in the morning? What's your passion, and what were you put on the earth to accomplish?
In looking at it now, like I've been fortunate enough to speak at some meetings that I've been invited to around, a little bit around North America. And my passion is to tell people, when you get knocked down, get up there and get back out. Like, I mean, I'm gifted. Like, I had a stroke that was a terrible stroke, but modern technology and a paramedic that wanted me back on that bike and all of this stuff, you just have to get out there and do it, you know. And when I give my presentations, I always say, like, a little bit of a line is, I said, my presentation is all about me, but it's not. It's about the people around you, or the people beside you, or somebody in your family, or somebody in your community, and that's going through the same issues, you know. So it's like, I was gifted, like I said, because I came out fairly healthy because of modern technology. There's other people that are not as gifted, but there was a person in my town. He was a a paramedic, or not a paramedic. He was in computers, and he took a massive stroke, and he was pretty well paralyzed on one side, and he walked with a severe limp. But he had a dog, and for like about 5 years, he'd get up every morning. He'd walk over to the coffee shop, sit down, have a coffee. You couldn't talk to him, but you could sort of communicate with him at a level. But he never ever quit. He just kept going and kept going and kept going. So, you know, you get back out there and live your life to the capability that you have given to you, or what they've saved to make it work, you know. Because one of my doctors told me, he said, Mike, you better sit at home and take it easy, because you could have another stroke. And he's 100% right. If you get into the environment of the negativity in a house, and you're cloistered in there, and you're listening to the news in the real world, which is all negative. Like, I mean, there's good snippets of good news that amazing things happen, but overall the news is just all negativity. So if you get suckered into that, and that becomes your escapism because you follow it, then you're going to be in a negative world, and you just can't do that. You have to get out and do stuff. If all you can do is be an artist, or a gardener, or somebody who wants to get out and do a little job in his community, or work in a shop, and maybe you can't function at 100% of your capabilities, but you're enough to get out there and be very functional. Just get out there and do it. Like, just don't give up. I mean, it's easy for me to say that because I came through it, but like your question before, how do I keep positive every morning? Because the alternative is terrible. And I just want to get up in the morning, and like when I'm here in the morning, we're sleeping in tents on the ocean, and the ocean keeps you awake all night, just rolling all night, and it's beautiful, you know. And you go, where am I going tomorrow? You go into another town, and it's just so dynamic. And some of these roads down here are crazy that you're riding on. They're so twisty and backcountry, and like every time you go around a turn, it's another beautiful turn from a motorcycle feeling, you know. So this just gets me up every morning, you know. And what am I going to do? Sit at home in the snow up there?
Yeah, that's crazy. I agree.
No, but yeah, but I mean, like, I'm at an age right now that if I don't do this now, will I be able to do it in 5 years? But where I'm sitting here, I was just talking to the owner of the hotel we're in, or the resort, and he was just saying that there was a woman came in here, Seattle, and 78 years of age, and she bought a car up in Seattle, and she drove it all the way to the bottom of South America at 78.
Wow, that's amazing.
And, yeah, so I meet other people. Like in the last place we were staying before we came here, there was one couple. They were he was 74. I didn't ask her age, but they traveled all the way down from near Toronto, Cambridge. And then there was another couple, they were there from Quebec. And like he was up in his 70s. Another guy, he was 76, and he swifted up, and he travels with no insurance, because he said, well, if something happens, you know. But they're just doing this. So when you get put into that environment, that everybody, when you live in a positive environment, it's easy to be positive. So if you go to the other side and you're sitting with people that whine and complain and negative, and this is wrong and that's bad and everything else, and if you get suckered into that, that's all you got to live for. So yeah, I just like my way of living my life, because it's, you know, and having people like you in my life, and you know, there was always that positive attitude that we had, and you know, we there and talk many discussions, you know, and everything else. So it's yeah, it's just it's a beautiful world out here. I'm down in here where everybody says you should be cautious of what's going on, you know, and we have not one bit of negativity has popped into our life. Yeah. Not one. You know, so
that's so cool.
You know, yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And so if people want to follow your adventures, they can follow you on Facebook, right?
Yep. Just under my name.
Yep. Mike Muldoon. I'll put the links in the show notes as well for people that want to follow you. Yeah. And
you know,
go ahead.
Like, I was just going to say that if they don't have to befriend me, but if they just want to follow my stories that I put out there about the trip and everything else, and basically I do that to bring people on this trip that will never get outside of their little community or their towns, or maybe because of age reasons, they will not take the risk. And I just want people to come along and just say, wow, you know. So, and maybe a couple of them will say, maybe I'll do it like him too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks again. And thanks to everyone who's watching or listening. Don't forget to subscribe to North American Ag Spotlight YouTube or Rumble channels. And the podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Amazon, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And have a great day.